Yeah, got deer over there. There's about 5 or 6 of them over there.
It's a deer sanctuary then, isn't it? There's a deer sanctuary here for somewhere apparently.
Yeah, I do. Just saw something over there, actually. Sure, I saw something moving that way. What was it there? This one's really made well, isn't it? I'm just saying how well this one's made. It's like kind of just really made well. It's even got like a kind of a access. Let's see. There's no covering on this at all, no covering. So they're all the same, they all go down into a point, into a smaller point down the bottom here, and higher at the top. But all these are carefully picked up, not shaped, but picked up for their shape, so they're able to be slotted together. So there is some care. There is some care and thought gone into this to keep this structure and the integrity as well. When you think about any winds and rain and other bits and bobs we've had weather-wise, these things stay up. They stay up. Sometimes better than some houses actually. But no, there's been some care taken with this.
Hey folks, how's it going? Got a new guest today. Roxy B, thanks for joining, and MT Paranormal Life. Mikey, thanks for joining. Is it all right if I call you by your first name, bro?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine, Mike.
Phil. Phil.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Dog.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's just got to let you guys know. He's got a YouTube channel called Dogman Teepee Hunting. He also has, I didn't know this until I think it was yesterday. He has TikTok. And yeah, let's get him up there, man. Get him going. Those are on TikTok. Go follow him there. Don't forget to follow him over at YouTube. So, Phil, thank you for joining me.
No, thanks for having me.
So, how is it going over in the motherland?
Yeah, it's good. Just waiting for a bit of a dry spell at the moment. It's just been rain. So yeah, just waiting for a dry spell and I can get back out there.
All right, got a first question. Roxy V says you're always going to ask the same thing, so might as well go with it. What makes you start looking at teepee structure?
What makes me start looking at teepee? Well, initially going out and seeing them, and then watching YouTube videos from other people and thinking to myself, oh, that looks familiar. That looks kind of like the ones that I'm seeing. And these things are in the States and Canada. And I just think to myself, do you know, that's ever so strange. Why would that be? Why would that structure be thousands of miles apart and basically look exactly the same? And not just that, you've got tree bends as well and tree breaks. Yeah, that's why.
I mean, bro, I think that might be the biggest mystery that we're dealing with. By the way, MT Paranormal Life Mike says subscribe to you. So there you go.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So I think, you know, as well that, you know, these teepee structures might be the missing link to all this stuff. And maybe we need to be a little more open-minded and objective about this, because like you're saying, it's been, I talked to Southwest, Southwest Europe Sasquatch, bro. I'm sorry if I messed up the name. But anyways, from Portugal, and he's running around in Spain and finding these teepee structures. I mean, either we're dealing with a cult, a secret cult of people that nobody knows about, which could be, but it's a high probability it's not. Or we're dealing with something that's completely different. Which, by the way, I haven't done some of the business I need to do. I'm going to be actually next weekend. Guys should check this out. WT Watson agreed to join, and Mike, if you're still there, because Mike, I want you to join us as well. He's the one who wrote the book Forest Poltergeist, and he compares the poltergeist experiences that people have at homes and that kind of stuff, and the paranormal field, along with what's going on in the Bigfoot research. And he did a great job. So that'd be an awesome show. So Mike, I'll remind you of that. I'd like you to join us if you're still there, because Mike does the same thing. He's in works with cameraman here in Eastern Ohio, and so they got a crew of guys. You know, a trapper. We got a Bigfooter, and we got like Mike, who's in the paranormal. He's a paranormal researcher, and I think this is a very intelligent approach from where they're going at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, we need to investigate these things because, I've been told a few times that, that children, and but you get bushcrafters out there and you get kids also out there. They can maybe some, can be put down to that.
Have you ever seen? I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever seen, Phil? Have you ever seen kids or anybody building a teepee structure or any kind of tree structure?
No. That's a strange thing. No, I haven't. No.
I have, and I've never seen a video about it. I'm not saying it's not happening, and I know we're saying that, but we're just like, what is building these things? You know what I mean? Because that's linking all this.
Yeah, and usually it's like kind of, if it was going to be kids, it wouldn't be like kids. Not in the today's age, they'd be like Xbox, PlayStation. They live a more insular life anyway, but to go out into the woods, and they would have to probably, if they were youngish or even teenagers, is it all right if I go into the woods because I really fancy picking up a load of sticks and then making them into a teepee. And the teepees that I find, they're not shelters. They're not something that really kids could even have enough room to play in.
It's not even practical. It's not practical.
No, they're not. No, they're not practical. And it's just I don't know. I think some, yes. I mean, I've spoken to a person who's with the ACF, the Army Cadet Force, and they do make structures, a little like the ones that I find. But they themselves say that, she says, to be honest, Phil, what we do is we make them. And we then take them down because our whole ethos is leave no trace. So we wouldn't leave them up and just walk away.
That makes sense. Can I interject to keep that thought? But I didn't cover some of my business. So I want everybody to know from the last show with me and Mike RL. Mike called me. We talked this before the show actually about around 12:30, and we're in good standing. And he reached out to me. He has no issues with me. I think at the time it kind of was going to throw him off because I was asking questions. And JT, if you're there, or if I had to drop you as co-host so that just for this show, we're hoping so that Phil could be co-host, and I'll put you back up, and hopefully JT still is with me. You continue with your thought as I get interrupted again with a phone call, please.
Okay.
Talk more about what you were saying. I'm sorry. Do you remember?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I've also found not just the teepee structures themselves, it's things like tree bends, and some are really quite large, and it takes some force, quite a lot of force for these tree bends, because these branches are quite sizable, at least 2, maybe 3 inch in width, and they're bent over into an arch. I just find that in itself very strange, because it serves no purpose. But when you look at it, it looks like a proper archway, and you just think to myself, why would kids want to do that? And from bushcrafters' point of view, the whole point of a bushcraft, it would be to make a structure that would have enough room to also be comfortable in it and not get wet. That's one of the main things, so that you're not wet, you're protected from the weather. But I see no signs as well. Hiya, Mike. I see no signs as well, if it is bushcraft, of any weathering protection, ferns, leaves, compacted soil on top. I don't see any remnants of a fire, a pit, in and around these structures. It's really odd.
Yeah, where are the footprints? If it's Bigfoot, Bigfoot's massive. It's supposed to be massive,
Yeah.
like 800 to thousands of people talk, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can see some kind of disturbance on the ground. When I think about it, I think about like a cow. Just think if there's a 1,200-pound cow walking around in there, you'd find hoof prints and everything. That it's impossible for them not to leave signs. Let me rephrase that. It's improbable if it's physical being solely a flesh and blood Sasquatch to be not leaving signs of their presence around.
It's just, I for a creature that size to come into a forest and it would have to spend a lot of time in that area, in that immediate area, building a structure. And you have to remember also another thing, that these branches, when you look at them, they're not cut. There's not had what they call a spud used to debark them, the branches. They are picked up off the forest floor. So as you say, Mike, there would be footprints, disturbances in and around the immediate area.
Okay, let's look at this, which is amazing. I don't know. My very first, it reminds me of my very first tree structure that I ever encountered, right? 2017. Look how size of this. How tall are you? Mind me asking how tall you are?
I'm 5'7".
So you're the average height. So you just add 3, still at 3, that's like freaking, what? You measure how tall it was? Maybe about
that's 8 foot. Yeah, that's an 8 foot to the actual underside of it at the top and the apex.
So how did the human? If it was a human being and they did that, that's an immense amount of work.
That's a lot of work. And it begs the question, why? Why would you go to all that trouble to do it? And it's not weathered. There's no protection there.
No, I guess it could be a form of sculpture, art. Maybe. But still, like that, those big logs, there should be signs of them being dragged around and
Yeah.
disturbed around. And even human beings should be leaving signs of their presence, building this stuff, and just how they interweave these things. It's such complicated. It really is. It informs a work of art, if you will. I mean, if some people say that it's like Sasquatch or Dogman or whatever try to communicate with us, I don't see any evidence of that. So what the hell?
I call myself Dogman Teepee Hunting, and I believe it probably is Dogman. I've only on one of my videos caught what I believe to be a Sasquatch in Cannock Chase, which is Midlands way. And that was a video where it was like throwing something at me, but that was only ever once. I put them down. I had to put them down as something, categorize them under something making them. And I categorized it as being Dogman because since looking for these structures, I have seen and taken video of what I believe to be a Dogman creature. And I believe that it probably is that which is making these structures, because I can't see anything else in the natural world that would possibly make these.
Unless we're dealing with something that's not in the natural world. Which is a possibility. You know what I mean? Like we're dealing with something. Here's the thing too. From my research and things I'm filming stuff that's not just like look like Dogman or Bigfoot, but they look like a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And they're not pareidolia. And so you're just like, damn, what the hell? I mean, what is doing this? You know what I mean? Is there a group of like where you're from, the fairies or the something in that? Why? And I mean, why would Bigfoot do that? Why would Dogman do that? Why do you think Dogman would do that?
I don't know. I'd love to know. I don't know, but if it is making it, if it is Dogman making it, they are getting more common. And since COVID, I've seen a lot more during COVID and just post COVID. There's a lot more. There's been a lot more of these, and as I say, I put it down to Dogman, but I don't know what Dogman is. I've heard a lot of people say, okay, Dogman is this and Dogman is that, and he's here because he's kind of a genetically created creature. He's a military soldier. He's created from light. I don't know, but I do know there is something out there.
Yeah. Now, especially your part of the world, this whole thing about crop circles. Now, I know that there's a large percentage of them that are human-made, but there's that percentage that we can't explain what makes them. Some people argue maybe it's the military or governments have some kind of weapon that can make that stuff. Maybe it's a possibility. But here's the other thing. Think about like fairy circles and what do they call those things for the UFOs? It was like I can't think of the name of it now. Where they make and then maybe we're dealing with something that's very similar to all these things that not only can like make these crop circles type of things, but also somehow can manipulate dead branches and trees and carry them someplace that no one can see. I mean, at a time when obviously it's at a time when we're not around, no human beings around. Well, it's not obviously unless there's human beings to it. And if they are human beings, they are the cleverest of human beings, and they don't bother to ever film themselves doing it. Ever.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen, crop circles. Yeah. It's, a lot have been put down to being man-made and proven they're man-made, but there is that 10% which are unaccountable simply because of the time it takes So a lot of these crop circles, the ones which are unaccountable, the ones which are done in a period of time which is overnight. So maybe 8 to 9 hours, maybe 12 hours, but overnight. And they've made, there was a famous one over here by it was made in a field just adjacent to a listening post, a radar dish.
Okay.
Very famous one, and it was actually a crop circle, and the design of it was a DNA. You know, maybe we sent Voyager out into space, the first one, and we had the DNA of man, and illustration of mankind and sort of where we are within the universe and all this detail. On that crop circle, it was exactly the same, but slightly different. So the DNA was slightly different. The illustration of what we were was slightly different on that crop circle. And some believe that it was an illustration of what they are.
Ah.
Yeah, interesting.
This is the Fortean experience that we're going through it's captivating and it's hard to escape, isn't it? It's like that. The more you look into this stuff, it's like the mystery just deepens and deepens, and it's like,
the thing is more questions than there is answers out there, and everyone's scrabbling around for answers, and it's a quagmire of just it's this, it's that, and it's hard to see through the veil. I mean, I John Keel was an advocate of ultra terrestrials. So, and he kind of, I believe, as John Keel does, that all of these things, the UFOs, the Dogman, the Sasquatch, nearly everything, really, to be honest, is all interconnected in a thread.
Mothman, which he's famous for.
Yeah, Mothman. Yeah, because we've had Mothman sightings over here as well, in a place called Manman, which is down towards Cornwall. So all these entities, and because all of these entities have something which, a few traits in common, which I find really quite peculiar. One of the first traits is any time anyone takes any photography of them, it always comes out either blurred or kind of not exactly clear at all. It's like kind of pixelated or undefined. And that's whether it's UFOs or whether it's Bigfoot or whether it's Dogman or whether it's Mothman. It doesn't matter what it is. It's never a clear shot.
That's true. It's true. I mean, it's for people, I'll keep on going on, and I will, I have images that they kind of look like Bigfoot. And, I don't know. I guess you don't have to believe me, but I'm not set up for it. But if you look at the one behind me, I'll just show them my ugly mug for a little bit. They got one right here. The last one I filmed in April, May of 15th.
That's a good shot.
They got one here, and it's got an infant on its shoulders, and they got another one reaching up. You see the head, and it looks like he's wearing glasses. I mean, I'm not bragging because I'm not, because it doesn't really. The thing is, I bring it up is what you're saying. I can't get a clear shot of these things. They seem like they're just manifesting, not really coming into full form or physical form. They just and every single image I've ever gotten, I never saw them. And every time I've ever had an encounter or a sighting, I could never film them.
Yeah. And I mean, it puts. There was one guy that I was talking to that said that that these beings are because there's been an experiment by MIT in 2018 where they were able to, with photons, they were able to fire 2 photons through a inert gas of iridium, and when it came out on the other end on the iridium, they found that the photons had a small amount of mass, which basically means a photon's a light particle. Yeah. So it has velocity, but it doesn't have mass. and it bombards us all the while because that's hence we can see everything because of light. In a certain spectrum, in our own spectrum of light that we can see. And so he was saying to me, he said, well, and he was quite sort of dogmatic, really, pardon the pun, about it, these light particles, which are photonic light particles, because they've got a certain amount of mass, are the things which we see as being dogmen. So basically, these photonic particles, because they have mass, and because they're so esoteric a particle, that they kind of like morph into these creatures. These creatures use that to create their mass that we can see. I mean, as I say, there's so many different variables out there of what these things can be. I don't know, Michael.
Well, that's the fair answer, and we're all in the same boat, and it's okay for us to say, I don't know. I think that's a very mature and honest way of going about it. I mean, we had a little bit of a conversation before the show, and we talked about there are people that are so dogmatic that absolutely got the answer, and I'm like,
I saw that. There are I've got another picture. It's a bit macabre showing that, I know, but I've got another picture of just a leg as a limb of a leg. But you often find like these creatures of I think the word is sanguinated. There's sort of like there's no blood in the area, but there's no blood in the animal or in the limb. It's like bloodless. But I come across like a leg, or and just think, foxes. It could be. We don't have any large predators like you do in the States, but we have like foxes. We have wild boar now. That's been reintroduced into some forests. But these limbs that I found, there's been no blood in and around the limb. And it's a bloodless limb. It's like what's happened to it?
Like it's almost similar to cattle mutilation type of thing. I don't want to stay on there too long because somebody might censor us over this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know what I mean. But thanks for showing that. The thing is, like, it's just like the cattle mutilations right now. There's many different theories out there, but it's still just. I don't even know the theories. They're more hypothesis. We're still operating at hypothesis level than any theories. So, there's a lot of speculation. Guess why are the cattle mutilations happening? Why is the same thing happening in the forest? Similar, at least. It's something similar.
Similarly, yeah. It is similar, yeah. The latest on the cattle mutilations that I've heard have been they evidently the tissue in they've been like utilized in the cattle to harvest the wounds or harvest the blood so that they can grow, because it's evidently quite close to human, and they've been using that to actually grow I don't know, maybe mutant dogmen, Sasquatch, don't know, but that's the latest that I heard of it on podcasts and YouTube and stuff. Now whether that's true or not, simply because of the organs that have been taken. A lot of the organs that have been taken from cattle have been things like uterus, livers. Now this is with like laser precision.
Pulling out of the rectum.
yeah. So it's because it's just it's mind-boggling, Michael. It's like kind of why would that be? Why would that happen? If it was an animal, it would savage it. It would just it wouldn't be a accurate cut, a laser cut, in other words, and it wouldn't just take the uterus.
So, and even in the cattle mutilation side of things, there's all these different speculations there are people actually doing it for insurance or to the cults, satanic cults doing some kind of ritual. But once again, it's just speculation, and there's no evidence for any of that. So we are just still stuck in this muck here.
Oh yeah. I know it is. The only thing, like I say, but I've got to go on is these structures.
Tell us about this
These.
one. Why did you take a picture of this one?
Took a picture of that one because that one was a really unusual one. A lot of them, like I say, I take a picture of ones which are no possible practical use. And that one is no practical use. Why anyone bothered to make that, I do not know. It just seemed very strange. I also take photographs of ones which I've got a K2 meter. So I use it for electromagnetic fluctuations. And I found that in some of these structures, there's a high level of EMF that comes off.
Yeah, I know. What did you share the video of that with us? Me? Which one would that be? I've watched.
I think I did. Yeah.
See, something in the tunnel, fairy door. No, make that possible. Or something in cornfield. Nope, we didn't hear that one. I saw that before. Dang, I wish we would know what we're talking about. Actually, I wanted to use that as a video, and because you have that, and it's like around a tree structure. Yeah. And by the way, Mike did the same thing, and a lot of other people are doing that too. You know, around these tree structures and around activity. These EMF readings and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Mike, if you got time, you can join us. It'd be great to meet. I'll put an invite, Mike, and if you want to join us instead of texting, because he's got a lot to share. I mean, he's doing it he's doing it in the field, and you two guys should actually talk. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So, and temperature. I don't know if Mike has had any difference in temperature reading, but from the latent ambient outside temperature to the temperature inside one of these structures, it differs by about 2 degrees. It's usually colder. 2 degree difference. Colder. Yeah, colder. Yeah, colder.
He says here, Mike says, right, Phil, I have more questions. Okay, we talked about that. But the one we want is that is why it's important for those like us who do this research to keep on documenting and investigating to see if we can get closer to the answer. Okay. And one of the big part right there is Mike, is you said documenting.
Yeah.
You know, of course, we're doing it one way with the videos and the images, but they also like temperature, time, day, all this kind of stuff. So you're saying that when you're trying to get these readings, you're getting a drop in temperature, and I would have thought the complete opposite.
On some of the newer built ones, most of the newer built ones that you come across, you can tell by the wood that is used, the branches that are used, and you can tell when you go and see it, and you think, the older ones are quite self-evident. The older ones, they've started falling apart, and I mean, they're robust. They are robust. They'll withstand the winds and the rain.
Look at this one. This is fascinating. Why do it? Why anybody? The amount of energy as a human being, or even I mean, are Cub Scouts doing this? I mean, or what? Or I mean, I doubt it. I mean, are Boy Scouts doing this? Is this what they do? When you look at this, it's just amazing the intricacy. If you really pay attention, just at first glance, it's just a bunch of logs and all that, right? But when you're looking at it, it's weaved in and out, and they put someone, if it was a human being or even a group of human beings, they took all the damn long time making that thing.
I mean, seriously, would you bother? I mean, and all of that wood that you see has been picked up from the forest floor. None of it is chopped, and none of it is cut off any surrounding trees. None of it. But it's just why. And it's funny.
And if you're a massive Bigfoot or a Dogman, I mean, you look at that, it's like the trouble even getting in the thing and just hiding there. And okay, let's say they're going. This is for ambush, or it's like some kind of camouflage. The amount of noise you make coming out of the thing, you're better off not even having the thing.
Yeah. It's just and if it was made by humans, then a lot of the entrances are so low, you have to be on your hands and knees to get into it. So
hands and knees is so low. So is there some, like, okay, you're from the motherland, and you guys have like the Wolseys and the Woodmen and all that kind of stuff, and I
Yeah.
mean, and then the fairies, and then the leprechauns, and all these other things that are folklore, but maybe they're not so much folklore.
Maybe no. I think all folklore has a thread of truth in it. You know, all folklore has that nugget of truth, which through Chinese whispers has probably faded to such an extent. But there is something there, Mike. Yeah, I think in all the folklore, you know, there is a backbone, the truth there. It's just digging around trying to find it. I have seen smaller, really small structures. You know, it's almost like a folly of a larger one. You know, like take a big teepee, and I've seen a real miniature one, small one. But yeah, I probably put down to the fae or fairies.
All right. So
Yeah.
bringing that up, then like I just interviewed. Of course, you know, I interviewed Brian, and Brian has all these like glyphs, as he calls them, on the ground of leaves are being arranged, and even like the branches. It's very similar to what the crop circles.
Yeah.
Crop circles are
those
made.
as well. Yeah, those as well.
So, you know, it's like, I think, is there a possible connection to them all? I mean, they certainly are very similar as how things are arranging all those branches. And, you know, human being could do it, certainly. You know, Brian could, I'm not saying he is, but Brian could be faking it, but I'm not saying he is. I don't believe it. But I don't know, but he's totally convinced that Sasquatch is doing it. But then, you know, then Sasquatch must be everywhere. If it's the truth, you're right.
It could be Sasquatch. The only reason in the UK I say probably not Sasquatch is simply because the only prey that it could possibly have for its size would be the deer. I don't know if UK is a lot smaller than the States, a lot smaller than Canada. Whether it could harbour and sustain something, or you know, a tribe of Sasquatch, which over here, the deer we have about 4,000 deer. I don't know.
That's all you have that's like nothing. That's like how many we have in my county.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's, you know, so Dogman has been seen. You know, Dogman. I've got a video of Dogman being, and that is something I think entirely different. That is something, an entity that is entirely different. I strongly believe that, like with Bigfoot, it is a flesh and blood. It is definitely flesh and blood. But Dogman, I don't think it's entirely flesh and blood.
It's fair enough. I mean, it's like, why do you find, okay, so let's go over this again. Why do you think that? Not that I'm challenging you. I'm just trying to understand what. Because
no, that's fine. No, it's good. But we all got to be challenged, you know. I've been challenged most of my life, to be honest. I think because it is so enigmatic a creature, it's like kind of it's whether it morphs or cloaks. It's a very, very difficult beastie to capture on film, and it's a strange one. It goes. See, if it was a soldier, if it was a genetically made soldier, my argument would be this: okay, well, Dogman and part man, part dog entity has been going back in folklore for hundreds of years. So hundreds of years they didn't know about genetics.
Right.
Yeah. So in that being the case, then why the history? Why have we got that history of it? You know, it doesn't really make any sense. But I think I've got no proof of this, but I think with Dogman, And I wish I had proof. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. And the only thing I say is these structures. And together with when I'm looking for these structures, the video and photographs I've taken of the Dogman entity, which, yeah, you could put down probably to some pareidolia, but it's pretty. Some of it is pretty spot on with being an entity. There is something there.
Well, it does look like there's something there. I mean, it looks like there might be more than something there. This is the one with the deer, right? Did you have the deer in the video?
Yeah, that's the video. Yeah, the deer. Yeah.
Well, maybe if we have time, we'll look at it. If we don't have time, folks, go to his channel and check
Yeah,
it.
that's it. Yeah, there's another one of like a golden entity. There was a that's it. There was two deer, and then they were. I took a video first of all of the deer because I thought, because I love animals, and I thought, I'll take a video of the deer. Then the dogs, for some reason, started getting a bit hairy, started going a bit funny. So they tied themselves up, and so I was unraveling their long leads. And as I did, I stopped the video, and then I restarted it when I had unraveled their leads. Looked over to the deer, and there was something else with them. This golden Dogman, if you like, that was there.
This is the one, right? This is the video.
Yeah.
I guess we do have time to watch it.
Yeah.
I was sorting out my dog's lead and jogging camera. I spotted a lovely deer, but that was not all I spotted. I'm just going to mute it so you can talk. So what's going on here?
No, that's fine. Okay, right. So this is the first video where I was just looking at the deer.
I'm going to slow this down, bro.
Yeah. Okay. You see where the hands are pointing? Okay. That's the area of the picture you want to look at, and there was nothing there. Okay. There's deer there, and there was nothing there on that mound by the log, just above the log. Nothing there. Then you start to see coming out of the forest this thing.
You definitely see something that looks like it has some kind of eyes and a mouth, so some sort.
Yeah, and it looks really big.
And you look at it better if you go to his channel, but there's like something. These the eyes? Am I assuming right? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So something is manifesting.
Yeah.
At least appears to be, and the deers are seeming to be responding to it.
That was a real pixelated shot of it. Real pixelated shot. I tried to work with what I had, and all I had was Google Pics just to try and enhance it. But there's something definitely there.
Yeah, there is something definitely there. But what you feel as a Dogman, okay? That would be.
In this case, I'll tell you what, Michael. I'll tell you what. The first shot of something coming out of the forest that was so big, that more looked like a Bigfoot to me, which was really odd.
Is there a possibility like this is the underside of its leg? This is like a
I think so.
A kneecap right here in the leg, and this could be an arm right here.
Yeah,
and shoulder. And I'm not saying so bad, folks. I just it could be. And then there's some to be kind of could it be manifesting? Yeah, I mean,
I think so. Yeah, and once again, it just messes with the camera.
I know. What are these things? It's a different image here. It's even different.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that one. I mean,
you can see now that is a Bigfoot face.
It's got one hell of a face. That's what it's got. Not one of those faces you want to be seeing it.
So I untangled the leads. At that point, I untangled the leads. I then started filming again. This is the second part of it. The same area.
You got those little deer. What do you guys call your deer again?
Yeah, now look, it's looking at something.
Blacktail is some form of blacktail, whitetail deer.
Yeah,
they're not very big though.
No, they're not big.
And they got roes. Is that the other ones you got? What was the one we saw earlier? Was that one of those small deer?
I think it's just a roe. Yeah, that's the thing. See that gold thing?
Yeah, let's go back to.
So what came out of the forest? What came out of the forest earlier, and then after that, where it was blank before, nothing was there. It was just a log and a mound. Then this thing turned up.
So this thing shows up.
Yeah, this thing shows up.
But this
And
thing still seems to be there almost.
uh,
I mean, it seems to. I mean, I don't know if this eye is still not, if it's dematerializing or what, or
and
maybe.
on the beginning of the video, or not very beginning, but on the beginning of the second part of the video, you can see the deer clearly looking at this thing.
Yeah, yes, we did. We saw that. You could definitely. There's still like there's something there, but then this starts changing. It's a weird journey, bro. Who'd ever thought we'd get wrapped up in all this stuff? The deer, and they do respond, and they do respond to whatever's over there. I mean, they respond to you too. They're kind of hesitant, but
Yeah.
responding to more than one thing. You and your dogs to something else.
Yeah. So I was a ways off, but this gold thing turned up. So that thing manifested out of the forest, and then this gold thing turned up where before on the first video there was nothing there, nothing at all. Now, isn't that odd?
You know, I have filmed. It sounds bizarre, but I do have images of it. I filmed the things that look like, what do they call those things? Fuck, I can't think of them. Little small hairy people. What are they called again?
Hobbits.
Yeah, hobbits was the other one. Trolls, not trolls.
Trolls.
What's the next one? The one that lived in the mountains.
Orcs.
Or no, the other ones that were with them. There was shit. What's his name? Dwarfs. Some kind of dwarfy type looking thing that was hairy that had. And I'm filming stuff. So there's hooded people, but then there's obviously these things that look like they're wearing helmets, and the kind of hair are people like wearing helmets. And it's this I'm not saying it's so, but is this like the head of something right here? Wearing some kind of head?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the head of something. And then I've got screenshots of it as well, where it's like kind of zoomed in a bit, but it's a hell of a thing, whatever it is. It's very reflective as well. Yeah, and it was just sort of there, just shimmering with the light.
It's like it took the leaves, the whatever was there, and used it as some kind of source to help manifest. And I noticed a lot that they use trees and in the ground, and where the elements are these what we call elementals in some way or form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See,
I was lucky, Michael. I was lucky that I had that log as a marker. You know, just to show, okay, it was two separate videos, but that log didn't move. That was a marker with the mound. So I was quite lucky. That was like a goalpost, you know, that was like, okay.
Now it changes. Now maybe that's from you walking, but maybe not, because in this it looks like it almost has like eyes and a mouth. You know what I mean? I wish I could zoom into this one. I didn't realize how good this one. There's something really there. What is that?
I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? And the dogs were going crazy. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that one with us.
Oh, no, you're welcome.
So, back into these images, they're just like, this is inside a tree structure, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's another thing to them as well. When you look inside the tree structure, you'll always find like a little seat, like a stump, and it will be inside the tree structure. And I've noticed lately that there's been blackening of the wood to the point of where it turns to charcoal. So, you take a little bit of it and you can crumble it in your fingers, and it is like pencil. It's like charcoal. But on the ground, no scorch marks. But the blackening of the wood is all facing inwards. Like there's been a high intensity heat within that teepee structure, but nothing has disturbed the ground.
There's no rings like a tree rings. It's just going huge.
Yeah, just been blackened, burnt.
And these seats, as we call them, it's like when a lot of times they're in positions like it would be extremely difficult for a human being to sit on.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Banging against that tree and those logs and all that kind of stuff. It's like something smaller stuff. And then they're too small for a Bigfoot. And then I don't know about, does Dogman come in different sizes? Can it?
Yeah. Well, you get different types. They're typed, so you get type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 is the Dogman, where I got another video of type 1 Dogmen, which was sitting by a tree, and they're more like the old. In the UK, there was spoken about the devil dog, or the black shook, or old shook, which is more of a large black dog, and it looks like a black dog. Doesn't go on its hind legs, doesn't stand upright. It's quadrupedal, and often seen around cemeteries, waterways, places like that. And that would be type 1. Then you've got the more animalistic looking one, real like dead ugly looking one, more like a half goat half dog looking Dogman, which is a type 2, and the type 3 is the ones which are most known now, the Dogman looking Dogman, which is a dog's face and the snout, and the ones which are they're categorized in that manner, and the type 3 is the most vicious. Or I can't back that up by it has been vicious. There's no accounts of it being vicious to anyone that I know of. There has been accounts of there was the Camberwell Cemetery incident where a chap, this is in the 1990s, taking a shortcut through Camberwell Cemetery in London, just outside of London, South London, a very old cemetery, and as he was walking through, he got pushed to the ground, and he got pushed to the ground by what he swore was a large dog faced figure with a human body.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was drooling, and it held him down really fast, to the point where he had marks on him, where it held him down, I believe. Why he said it didn't do anything, it ran off. After a little bit, it ran off, and he said that was probably because he was not a well guy. He had some problem with him, he had some disease, and I think animals, like the Dogman, know that they won't eat rotten meat, if you like. And that sounds awful.
Maybe
yeah,
that's probably to me, because I have multiple sclerosis, but I go out there with my
and me as well. I've got a superpower
or
there.
cane. I got a walker or a cane, or use my wheelchair. So maybe they look at me and say, "Oh man, that's just rotten meat."
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I keep telling people say, "Oh, aren't you afraid of going out into the forest on your own and with your dogs, and it gets dark and you're out there?" And sometimes I go out in the dark. I said, "No, not at all." Because I've got Crohn's disease, so I'm kind of like rotten meat to the Dogman. Yeah. So,
When I just go on the edges, maybe no more than maybe 30 yards into the woods, because of my I used to tromp in the woods like everyone else, but as the MS has progressed, I can't do it. Which, by the way, ironically, has allowed me to actually get better images in the edges of the woods than in the woods for some reason. And maybe it's because I'm not actually, I don't know why, but where was we going with this? The thing is that,
I lost track as well, actually.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess the point is you don't have to go deep in the woods, start filming this stuff or seeing this stuff.
No. Yeah.
So
let me tell you.
This image here, I see this. This is like a great example of how they weave this stuff in there. Now, if it's a dude or people doing that, man, they have a lot of time on their hands, and they really, maybe they're artists. Maybe there are artists out there, and maybe some dude is just trying to, or gal is trying to express their artistic talents. And look at the weaving, the branches, the leaves, everything in it. And as far as a blind, I guess you could use it to hunt, but I don't know. England, it's not like you just go around and just hunt in the woods, and there's an awful lot of restrictions, more restrictions in England than in America. You're just not going to be. And then. This is amazing. If you really pay attention to this, folks, really pay attention to the amount of detail that's in this section, this shows up. And people probably don't know what the hell they're looking at, and I think I know it because you brought it up earlier. This is part of an animal, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's no blood on the ground. There's no blood in the limb, and there's no blood on the ground around it. And that's a fresh limb.
And it's so bizarre. What animal would do that? And he doesn't even. I mean, I guess something would do that.
Yeah, but there was no blood around Michael. No blood.
Like, if you really pay attention, if you not know, just so I can help you, this is a portion of a deer's leg.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's no blood. There's no, and it says fresh. So it doesn't look old to me. So, but that doesn't mean anything. But you say it's fresh, and it's just.
It's the odd thing to find.
Someone claimed that that's a gift to you.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know how we prove that. Those are more in the kind of the woo new age camp of this stuff. I'm like, I'm not knocking you people. I'm not knocking you, my brothers and sisters in there. I just like, where's the proof to say that that's a gift? And they say, well, sometimes people say they get mind speak. Okay. Still, that's, if it's that's anecdotal proof for you, but it's like, how do the rest of us know that's the case?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's
we're so dependent on each other for our own testimonies.
Yeah.
And it's
very much so.
It's starting to feel really religious to me. That's what it starts.
Yeah. It's it's one of those things where the old adage of you had to be there to see it. Which is a shame, but I would love it to happen kind of like in a big shop.
Yeah.
In the middle of the street,
Absolutely. But this reminds me of the stories and the ideas and of trickster spirits. And is there a force around us? It's just, is it really gifting us, or is it messing with us? Is it trying to reach out to us?
Would that mean that I would then have to, because I was told, and I've never gifted. I've gifted to the forest, and I've asked the forest for permission to go in. I've done that before now, because I believe like the forest, and I'm not being too tree huggy here, but I believe the forest like kind of is a gift to us all. And it is kind of in a way like an entity. It's an organism. It's a self-running organism. So I do ask the forest if it's okay to come in, and I gift the forest. So I might give maybe seeds. Seeds are a good one. I throw down wildflower seeds or something like that as a gift. Sounds a bit woo-woo, but there you go.
No, actually, I think that's really a nice way of going about it. It's actually you really are giving something back to the force that way. That's nice. Than just something materialistic that to feed the ego, you're feeding them. So that's awesome. I think that's a great idea. And Mike, Mike Harrell, I think I butcher his name all the time, but anyways, known as Beans on Pork and Beans, he feels that like the forest is a spirit itself, and the rocks are a spirit, and the air is a spirit, and that could be the case, or it could be multiple spirits. You know what I mean? But there's something definitely magical about the forest, and it's something that we all seem to fear, not fear. Although after we start having encounters, we start fearing it.
Yeah. No. There is, when you're out there, there's there is. I always get a strong feeling, but once again, it's an individual feeling. It's not anything that tangible that I can say, right, okay, this is the feeling I get. Wow. But you do get a feeling that you're not alone out there. And it's not all bad. It's good. It's a good feeling. There's something else there. There is definitely something else there. That does sound really woo-woo, I know, but there is a feeling, almost like a life force, if you like, out there in the forest.
Well, they call it woo because on the flesh and blood side, or those are more materialistic, is because you can't quantify it, you can't qualify it, you can't measure it, you can't. But that doesn't mean it's not so. I mean, this electromagnetic spectrum that we live in, the magnetism, electromagnetism, how it interacts with our nervous system. And actually, we did a show, me and with MT Paranormal Life Mike, and we're talking about this things. You know what I mean? There's some, how. The body is the meat suit that we live in the nervous system. Somehow it can, how is it that we can sense something is behind us and then turn around or someone's behind us, right? Didn't hear them or anything, but you can sense it. How do you sense it? You're not hearing anything. And like, I'll have like my son at times, he'll play a trick on me. He'll be sneak up to me, right? Or sneak into my place. And, it's our place, and be real quiet, and I sensed something's there, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't see him, didn't hear him or anything, and then I'll turn around. There's my son. So there's something going on with us in our meat suit that allows us to sense things.
Yeah, no, there is. It's I think it's in the army. I think they teach you that. If you're, say you've got the enemy walking past you and you're hiding from the enemy, always look down. Never look at the enemy. Even if they're walking past you, never look at the enemy. Always look down, because the enemy will sense that you're viewing them. They will sense your eyes looking at them. And this is taught. Yeah, same type of thing.
It's fascinating is what we're dealing with. And just the dynamics, learning about our own selves in this.
Yeah.
So what's going on here, man?
Oh yeah, that's a photograph of instead of a teepee, I came across on that one. It's a It's wooden branches over the top of a hole. So there's actually a hole under there. It's like a hatch.
And something took those branches and shoved them in there.
Over the top, as if it's a trap. It looks like a man trap. But we're talking UK here. We're talking and this wood in particular is a town wood, so it's not very far. It's in the middle of a town, and yet this this structure here was horizontal over the top of a large hole.
I mean, you got like some kind of rodent in there in your forest that would do that?
There's no way. No, they've got no opposable thumbs. There's no way they're going to lift up those branches or logs and put them put them across over the top of a large hole which has been dug out.
That's a good find. Good. I mean, for many people, might not be very significant. To me, I'm like, okay, what would do that? Now we're going back to the little people or something small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? It's like, that was just like really, really odd. I mean, if I had one of those fiber optic cameras or something, I could just like put down there with a light on it. That would be so cool. I didn't. So, and I didn't really want to disturb it in case it was a creature. But I just found that we do have creatures. Yeah, there is animals which hibernate. And they dig dens, but they but they will dig dens.
Position that any human being would be want to line this stuff up. I mean, maybe for a fire pit or for fire. I mean, why? 1, 2. Look what we're looking at here. Running across just like that, and then they see.
Yeah, you can see the hole just in the middle of it.
It's so bizarre. Why would any human being do that? Why would the animals?
Why would they? Yeah, I know. Why would they? And that's a big hole there. That's a big hole. So it's the size of your screen. So the size from one end of that branch to the other is the size of that hole. You've only got that little square gap in the middle. If I was to step onto it towards the square gap, it would just fall in.
That's just so.
Isn't that odd?
Yes, it is. Hey, MT Mike, I just sent you a link again if you want to join us. I think it would be great for the second half if you did join us.
Yeah.
I'm under a little bit of pressure, so we can't really go longer than 2 hours because my neighbor upstairs, my buddy, who, by the way, in my second encounter, did actually see something that looked like a Bigfoot, and but he won't want to talk about it too much. But he thinks it's a really tall dude in a black suit, hoodie, something. He got damn close to seeing it though, and he ended up chasing it.
But another thing, Michael. Another thing, can I ask you?
Yeah,
hold
on a second. Mike, I got the link right there. It's in the chat. Can you see that? Can Phil? Can you see the chat?
Yeah, I can see the chat. I can see the links. I can see the last chat. Did you put it on in chat? Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there above you, bro. It's the O.R.D, the Fortean Digital Shaman, this StreamYard, or because they have two channels, then the Lord of Ord O.R.D. So, anyways, yeah, I'd love to have you come on because he's doing this stuff. He's I mean, the two of you need to talk, I think. But what the hell?
Okay, cool. Look, once again, with this one, you've got all these stumps inside. Yeah, so like it's left with all the stumps. Another thing, if there was a ranger, I've spoken to rangers, and they don't know what these things are. One of them said, well, if we saw anyone making these in the forest, we would stop them because it's a fire. It's obviously a fire hazard.
What's going on here? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, so because these things, if they're put
just sorry for the interruption. Hey, Mike, I am going to send you a link via YouTube again. If you can't see it, not YouTube, Facebook Messenger.
Because my first thing was if they're put up vertically, then they're going to dry out so quickly. They're going to dry. These things are not on the floor. They're going to dry out, and they're like tinder. It'd be really easy just to boom, and then that would be the forest.
I did send you a link, Mike, via Facebook Messenger. Hopefully, you can get in that way. So he says you can't see it. You can't see it.
Oh, right.
But if you don't join, don't worry about it, man. We'll eventually get you there, man. One way or the other. So back to this. Shoot. And I am listening to you while I'm doing multitasking. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah. So this one. Just lots of debris inside. If it's bushcraft, who would want to live in that? Would you want to spend a night in there? I wouldn't want to spend a night in there.
I don't even see the logic of doing. Why would you?
Ladies
and gentlemen, the one and only MT Paranormal Life Mike is joining the house. How's it going, bro?
Oh yeah.
Hey Phil. Hey Mike.
Hi Mike.
Well, thanks for letting me join. I won't chime in much. I'm curious. I've been listening.
Yeah, once again, he's doing this out in the field in the woods with Bigfoot research. He's using all the gadgets that paranormal researchers use, and so, I mean, I think you guys should connect and talk at least. So, share it. Cool. Go along. Mike, are you seeing this in the woods as well? Are you seeing these kind of structures and these kind of what he's showing?
Well, one thing that caught my interest, Phil. You were talking about that small structure that I seen that you showed us. I had an encounter one time with, it was like a small, I use an SLS camera, which is one of the devices I use. And I use it just to see if there's some kind of energy form of something that you can't see. And I had it happen with a really small figure. And it was low. It was very small to the ground. It would it'd probably be the size of like a little toy person. And this was pretty amazing. I was live streaming when this was going on, and it followed me around throughout most of the night. And every time I would ask, I'm like, are you still there? Somebody in chat named it. I'd asked if it was still there. They named it Cutie Pie or something. And then it would pop up whenever I asked it to show itself. Yeah. So I always felt like there are some kind of small beings that are out there. And
Yeah.
seeing small structures like that might be related somehow.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is as I say, I've seen some smaller structures than that, which are really small. I mean, just tiny teepee structures, and also dens as well. And they ludicrously small, but so detailed in the build, really detailed. And it's like automatically I thought to myself, it's going to be the Fae, it's going to be elves, it's going to be some some form of entity like that. Who's to say that they don't exist? If we're talking about Dogmen and we're talking about Bigfoot, who's to say that these other beings can't exist as well? So yeah, SLS cameras, yeah, they're great. Do they work in the daytime or just nighttime as well?
Well,
Just
I mean,
nighttime?
when you have more light, it seems like it's easier for them to get resolution. So daytime seems to be more, I'd say, more accurate. But nighttime, if you have good lights, it'll work as well.
Okay, yeah, because they're a big tool of ghost hunters, aren't they? Those ones.
Yeah, I also, one of the things that keeps leading me towards these smaller entities is I get a lot of voices that seem to say things that allude to seeing me as big. And I've captured that a lot of times where they say you're big or something to that effect. And it's happened multiple times. And I always wonder who's talking to me. They sound like they must be really small because they talk to me as if I'm some kind of a big person or a big entity myself.
That's shocking.
Okay.
That's a shocking. That's really some really important information right there, I think.
Yeah.
Little people smaller than us doing this, and that would make sense.
Weird. Is that? Can I ask? Is that? Would that be mind speak, or is that EVP? EVP.
EVPs. I've documented some like that, but I use a device now that is a little bit newer technology that is called the necrometer. But it's got a mode on it that's not any kind of fixed messages. It's just letter generator, and it's interacted by EMF forces or different methods, and it'll put together phrases and sentences out of letters only, which is why I use it, because the evidence is very amazing, and you can't debunk it because you're getting messages full messages, sometimes short, sometimes very lengthy, and they're being created out of just letters.
Weird, isn't it weird?
Yeah, there's something small though, there's something to that, because that's something that I keep in mind and I've documented is messages, and also like that interaction with that small, what seemed to be some kind of something was there that it kept mapping on my SLS, and it was moving around occasionally. Whenever I'd stop and I'd look on the ground, it kept popping up when I'd ask.
Okay, so it would be following you as you went along. Mm-hmm. It'd be kind of like followed you. So if you went from one area to the next, you'd still see it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And
wow.
And I couldn't see it, and I would just stop and I'd ask somebody named it Cutie Pie, and I was like, Cutie Pie, I'm like, are you still there? And then bloop, you see the little figure in the SLS for a short time, and then it would go away. And I kept doing that, and on demand, it would pop up. It was pretty cool to see.
And that's on your video on YouTube. You got it on video, yeah?
Yeah, it was a live stream. So that one, I do videos and I do live.
Which one is that one? Do you remember?
It was. I'd have to look and see. It was probably about at least 6 months ago or more.
Okay. He had a lot of. Oh, he dropped off. Let's get here. Good. So yeah. So Phil, he's had a lot of some interesting paranormal stuff happening there, especially when I was paying attention when we were interacting last spring. He was some wild stuff. The structures like that. I've seen some. I haven't seen as many. Those ones that you've shown are really amazing. I've seen some that were similar. And they always have the same kind of, what I've noticed with yours, they almost seem like they are a little bit too small for a person to be comfortable.
Yeah.
That's how they seem to be.
And definitely for a Bigfoot.
Every time I see him, I'm always like, because my buddy I work with, he's been big into cryptids for a while and always looking for Bigfoot. And when I find these, I'm looking at them going, there's no, if Bigfoot's as big as they say he is, I'm like, I don't know, what kind of Bigfoot would find a home in one of these, because they're like that size, like that one on the screen.
Which makes me think, I'll be barking up the wrong tree thinking it's a shelter for them. Are they building it as a shelter? I probably don't think so. Maybe a boundary marker.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories I've heard.
Maybe maybe they have an artistic kind of bent like human beings, and it's some kind of art.
Yeah.
I mentioned something about like if they're old. I mean, like if they existed through a long period of time, maybe there was a point in time where some of this was learned from something they observed and watched, and they just like to repeat it, and they like to rebuild, and they just like do it just like you would do something when you're looking for something to do.
Yeah. Another thing I've done. Have you ever had a recording? Like I've got a recording device, and I've put it into the middle of. So I've hiked in about an hour and a half into a forest, and I've put the recording device in a tree. And on one time, I posted it. I think the podcast is 900-year-old weird sounds in a 900-year-old forest, something like that. And I've heard doors slamming, like a metal door actually closing, chimes at night. Yeah, really strange. Yeah.
It sounds. Yeah. There's some like theories of mine that I think about when it comes to like multi-dimensional interaction that might have something to do with anything from sounds coming through from other levels of a dimension. Maybe it involves the afterlife, or maybe it's just something from, if you believe in like multi-layered universes, and maybe somehow something's coming through and it could just be sound, because I've captured sounds that don't make sense, lots of them.
Yeah it's the oddest thing. This is a gifting.
This is what you did? Is this what you did, or what you found?
This is what I found.
Wow.
So this was in Cornwall. Cornwall, this was.
Cornwall, okay. Which I've been to. Essex. I think we talked a little bit on the show, but it is. I lived in England for 3 years, and I spent a lot of time in Essex. I've been in Cornwall, and some of the forests there in England are amazing. Magical. Magical. I mean, you got pheasant running around and turkeys in the trees and roes and deer and all sorts of stuff. It's pretty. Going in one of their forests is a pretty cool experience. Almost a lot. I think even a lot cooler than the States for some reason. But is this close to the trail? Is this
this was my other half. She found out about because she knows I like things like Stonehenge, and Stonehenge now is like kind of gotten so touristy. You can't even get close to the stones anymore. You have to walk around with earphones on, and they're kind of got a narrator telling you about the stones as you're walking around, and you've got Harris fencing or the steel fencing going around it. It's kind of like lost its vibe now. It's lost its whole meaning. But there is these stones we came across, which were called the Rem stones in Cornwall, and Remp stones. That's it, the Remp stones in Cornwall. And we went and had a look. Now it is on private land. It's just on some private land that a farmer owns. But we got permission. We asked, and we went across, had a look at the stones. Evidently, what it was, they're Neolithic, and there's a whole, like a runway for a plane, a whole runway of stones leading up. There was originally. Then the stones were taken up, sadly, by the farmer, but he'd left 6 stones. They're called the Remp stones. And they predate Stonehenge, I believe. And right by the stones was 2 large stones, and there was gifting. There was coins put into the stone, into the slots of the stone. There was coins put in, and on this other stone there was pine cones, like shells, seashells. And it's not anywhere near the sea. The seas were a good 3/4 of an hour drive. Seashells, really pretty kind of stones, shaped stones, smooth stones, like they've been smoothed out, almost like arrowheads as well, all placed on here like gifting. Which right by this place as well was a cross made out of sticks, and it was bound. The 2 sticks were bound in the middle here with twine, but the twine was reed, and that was in an upright position. I might have a photo of it on here. That was placed in an upright position between the stones.
It's very interesting, intriguing. You know, always possibility that a human being could be doing this stuff, but then again, until we can see that, there's an example of the coins on the stone here, and what are those? Those 5 pieces? What are those? Those
20 that's 5 piece, 10 piece, I think, and 5 piece or 20 pence piece. That one, the first one nearest to us. I mean, do you have that in the States? Do you find that, MT?
The most common thing we find, and I'm going to watch how I put it because of stupid violations from vandalism, but like, and there's another way to put it, but we found out the hard way that there's some kind of violation if you say if you call it a certain way. You know, like you were talking about how park rangers in that area, they said that if they saw somebody making little structures like that, you know, it violates the park's rules with that. Well, doing stuff like that with rocks too is the same way. So we found a lot of like piles, alignments of stones that are put on top of each other. That's more common. I haven't seen like a collection like that. That's a lot of interesting things that just got put together, and it seems like they're not easily found. Like you wouldn't have just found all those things and just put them there. They weren't laying nearby, so someone put them there for a reason.
Yeah. Now,
is this the cross you're talking about?
Yeah, that is, Mike. That's the cross, and that was between the stones in the ground, but wedged in, you know, and it was just bound with twine, you know, sort of like reed, almost like a reed, but it was not a string.
Yeah, and I noticed that some of your guys' tree structures look like that somebody wrapped twine around them. It's almost, to me, that's, I can't say 100% sure, but when I see that you're using string to make these tree structures, like X structures and all that, it reminds me that maybe it's humans are doing that, but I could be wrong. You know what I mean? But I mean, all the other tree structures that we see, there's no twine or any string or anything like that. So
no.
You know,
but the gifting here,
that area, you know, something special about that area. If you've got something like that, along with that, those items gathered on the stone, on the rock. Yeah.
It is a very special area, and I think that's because of the Vemp stones themselves. They're so very old. That's the Vemp stones. That's 2 of them. The one to the right-hand side of the tree. Now they go down about another, I think it's 6 meters. They go down another 6 meters. So they're deep. Really long. Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. But that's how old they predate Stonehenge, I believe. These things do. So the area is kind of quite a special area.
What are some of the hypotheses or theories about why they're there? Who did it?
No one knows for sure, Michael. Really, nobody knows for sure. I mean, people saying like with a lot of standing stones, it's prehistory. It's not documented history, so it's very hard to know who put it there and the reasons why.
So what's going on here, bro? What do you say? What this looks like? Somebody just throwing some branches right there.
That was like in the same patch of woodland. This wasn't a forest. This is a part of a woodland, and then you had a larger forest behind it, about half a mile away. But there was a large, like a nest made, but it was branches brought across. I don't show it very well, but towards the tree, if you went walking towards the tree and then turned to the right, there's a hole there. And it just dives down more. deeper into the ground, like it's a burrowed out into the ground, but then they had these sticks over the top of it, being covered up.
That's fascinating. Why would a human being do that? That's fascinating.
Something like that I've seen more common around here than
Oh, right.
the taller standing ones. I've seen more structures like that one right there.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah.
We do have a lot of hunters.
Crazy.
Some of the places we go, we found some structures that were made, but we theorized because of their hunting areas that they looked like they were man-made, like blinds for hunting from. So we always watch for those. But we found some in like non-hunting areas that are more like those there that look like they're laid over top of a dip, or they're laid over top of each other and like like a nest, but it's like under.
Okay. Have you ever been approached or asked a hunter whether or not, have you shown him a photo and said, look, I've got this, I've seen this. Is this anything to do with you guys?
Not me personally, but I know like the cameraman, he checks with some of the reports, because a lot of the reports and sightings come from hunters, and he's asked some hunters before about what they've seen. And that's how we know like how some of the blinds are made, and some of the blinds will look like a primitive stack that you would be like, whoa, what is this? It's just kind of like that earlier picture of yours, where they were taller and they get smaller down to the ground. We've seen some like that, but they were in areas that were hunted, and we learned that some of the hunters will build those when they hunt, and they'll just sit in between them, and then they'll just watch a certain area, and they'll just aim their rifle in between. Kind of similar to those. They're made like that, but you can tell how they're we've been able to identify them as being man-made, like hunting blinds.
Do they have them? Do they set them up specifically by animal trails?
Yeah, usually that's where we'll find them, and we'll see other things too that they put out, like salt and other things, feed.
Okay. Yeah.
This is so let's go back to here. My son showed up too. He got done with school, so conversions.
Okay.
So is this like eye shine to you? What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's eye shine. It that to me looks very much like a creature of some sort up there with the eye shine.
That's fair enough to say.
It kind of has that little bit of like a gold shine, like that one entity or whatever that was, and that when you were getting your dogs back from the leash, that's a pretty amazing picture. That is something that is really reflective, and
I don't know, is this one eye right here and another eye right there? Is that what I'm looking at? Or is it two eyes?
The two eyes are closer. The two eyes closer together. Imagine them being close together. Where your cursor is there. That's it.
There's like a branch.
You're in the middle. You're in the middle of the eyes, I think. But then it's open for speculation, Michael. It's open for speculation. It's just, to me, it looks like the eyes are quite close together and it's looking out.
Yeah. I mean, just not that it's worth anything, but what I see is like this might be possibly some of the shine of the one eye that's being blocked, and there's another eye right here, and there's a branch in it, and this there's a head right here.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
That's how it looks like to me, but it looks like you capture something, whatever the hell it is. Sorry for the language, but it gets frustrating, this stuff,
Yeah.
But the thing is, elementals and small things, and what Mike brought up too about these small entities or beings, and that they're awfully small. I mean, really. So it's like, are we dealing with multiple like spiritual ecology, some kind of interdimensional ecology some kind of biome, some kind of, just like it is here on Earth, where there's just thousands of different types of animals and species and varieties.
Mm.
We're dealing with the same thing, and we just need to kind of think more holistically about what we're dealing with. What do you guys think?
We were talking about why is it every photo that is taken is kind of not clearly defined. Whatever you I mean, I use 4K. I use 4K cameras, and it's still not clearly getting it. There's always a part of it which is like a little bit blurred out or not quite in focus, or and I've got a feeling myself that maybe they are ultra terrestrial, like John Keel said, and I think maybe they're like perhaps on maybe 1 second ahead of us, 1 second behind us, or probably, they're out of time. They're on their own time. They believe now, scientists believe that we're on our own time. Like, the only time we have is now, the present. Yeah, there is no future, there is no past. There is just the present that we're living in. It is the only time that we know, which it is. And being that with you see, with things like time and space, they're twinned. So they run together. Time and space run together. And it's known that the faster, I believe, the faster that time goes, the less gravitational pull it has. It's like with the big black hole, it will suck all light, and they say time, but all light, everything gets sucked into a black hole because the gravitational pull is so hard. But time space will bend around a larger body. Is it a case that these things are going so quickly that they're being dragged into our dimension, our gravity, our dimension? Are these things actually from another time? Because of that, we're not able with digital maybe to actually get a clear shot.
I would think what I've talked about before is multi-dimensional beings. And if you look at, like, say, like you mentioned, you say that you could say as our dimension, third dimension. Everything is, our time is only the present, and we're in this third dimension, and we're limited. And if you look at like multi-dimensional, like fourth dimensional, you're looking at where past, present, future time, from what they theorize, all exists at the same time. So if there is something coming through that could probably warp maybe the light and things as you capture with your camera and things, and that could cause some distortion, with photos and videos.
Yeah. I mean, if it can't actually come through in itself, it would come through as in our world, in our dimension, we would probably see it as some kind of an avatar.
Yeah, or maybe not even be able to see it because of some kind of a difference in whatever it's made of. Like maybe you could say a different kind of a light spectrum that we can't even see. Which I think if you look at ultraviolet shows that sometimes as well.
Yeah,
taking photos, there's things that'll come through an ultraviolet spectrum that we can't see. So it's possible there's something to a visible spectrum, or a spectrum that when they come through, they could be, and we can't see them.
Yeah. Just another thing, you mentioning about that, the amount of trail cams that are out there, and there's no, unless you go for the obvious AI pictures that I've seen on the internet, and they're quite obviously AI. But on the trail cams, it's almost as if they know, they can see the IR on the trail cam. There's no, and these things are dotted all over the place, and yet we still can't get the definitive picture of either Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Bigfoot, Dogman. Yeah.
And I've heard, I can't think of who it is right off the top of my head, but it was there's been some people that were involved in government programs that had things to do with remote viewing and other things. And I've heard a lot of discussion about that. and let's say, let's see, where am I going to go with this? You can't see them. Man, I really lost my train of thought there. I was going deep, man. I was going deep for a moment.
No, just go deep. That's fine. About IR and
about how they stay out of view and you can't see them. And what they've come up with, again, it has to deal with an entity that, whatever you want to call it, if whatever form it's in, if it's some kind of energy or if it's something that's just beyond our understanding, which seems to be most of it, they always seem to be always ahead of the plan. They always know. And it has, and they theorize that could be, like, to me, it makes sense if you're referring to multidimensional beings from a higher dimension, because you look at the aspect that they believe multi-dimensions above our own, above the third dimension, time exists all at once, past, present, and future. So the ability to know exactly what we're going to do is known.
Yeah.
So the opportunity for them to find the spots that they want to not be seen, or if they do want to come through, they can tell. They just have the knowledge of where they're free to move and free to come in.
Yeah, I mean, I put it I put it in a real to get it into my head. I put it in a sort of like a simplified manner of it being, think of a movie, and we can only see the movie as it's rolling along.
Right.
But because these higher dimensional beings or ultra dimensional beings, they can see the whole movie. They can see from the very end to the very start of the movie. We just see one snippet as the timeline goes along.
So they're able to actually, as you like in that analogy, they're able to look and say, to look like, oh, let's roll forward. Oh, they're going to set up a camera here to watch.
Yeah.
So they know that's where the camera's going to be, and then they could utilize that to their own benefit, if you want to say that, to not be seen.
And it's funny, I think you're absolutely bang on track, because it goes that way with when you look at UAPs now, exactly the same as well. UAPs, every time they have this the way they move, and also the way they move is kind of almost dragging along. It morphs. It's not a linear movement. It kind of like jutters. It jutters along, and they kind of always know. They always know when the probability of them being watched is going to be there. They either do it because they want to be seen, and they'll like kind of, there'll be lights, or they'll fly over a town or a city, and everyone will be getting a camera looking at it. But there won't be anything which is, they'll just give a snippet of their ship. I think it was Gene Roddenberry, once said that they asked him, I said, oh, where did you get the idea of the Enterprise from? And he said that he once saw a saucer-shaped UFO, really large UFO, saucer-shaped, and at the same time, on another occasion, Gene Roddenberry saw a cylinder. And he deduced from that, he really had a thought that it was that both entities were part of a bigger ship. Yeah? So it was like they were connected. He was just saying a portion of a bigger ship, both the saucer and the cylinder. Whether that, don't know, but whether that could be true.
What's strange is, like, there must be some reason why sometimes we see some things. Maybe because maybe there is some limitation to them always not being able to hide. Or maybe they just want you to see them. Like, because there was probably one of the most amazing things that we've come across was the cameraman was filming, and we were at a place we call Claim 3, which there's a lot of history behind while we're there. But we were using red lights, which we use red lights a lot for catching eyes through the woods. And something showed up right next to the cameraman in the red light, and if you see it, this was live again. He was live streaming. Everybody's seen it. There was an actual being, an actual entity of some kind, slightly transparent, that you could see in the red light, and it comes over right to him by the camera, and it's there, and then it fades away. And it is for me the most like amazing piece of evidence I've seen of some kind of an entity or something that is not human that came into view, and then it just drifted back. And we still wonder what it is, of course, but
Wow.
why did
I've
it
got to
just
see
go?
that.
I could show it to you too. Like I could even show
Yeah.
you. It's like 10 seconds long. I'd have to
Oh man,
find it.
yeah.
I'd have to dig it up quick, and I could share it with you.
Yeah.
It's crazy looking though. It looks like some kind of a ghost, honestly, in some aspect, but it's hard to tell.
This stuff is crazy, isn't it? What we see is just crazy. And after seeing it, you can't get it out of your head. You asked me at the beginning of the program, why do you go looking for these teepees? And it was because a combination. You can't get, once you start seeing the entities and the beings, and you put it all together, and you kind of like, you just can't get it out of your head again.
Yeah.
Right. You want to keep trying to figure it out. Just keep trying to see if you can get closer to figuring it out.
Just does it in. You just got to try and figure out what the hell it is. Yeah, bang on.
It makes one think too, because like, and I'm not getting religious here, and I'm not talking about like you're, going to do something crazy, but this a form of like guidance or possession or something like that. There's something that once they know that is like they want to interact some way that they can with you. You know what I mean? And they motivate you. They motivate your soul, your spirit to continue with this, even though, although. Why is this? What is happening to us that we are being motivated to do this? You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of theories out there, and maybe it's just because of the humdrumness of our lives, and we need some kind of mystery and some kind of, and maybe there might be part of that, but there's something more going on with us.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah. I'll present this, Mike, if you want to show it. It said it's a short clip. It's 12 seconds. I put it up there to present to you if you want me to play it.
There it is, bro. We'll
ready?
Yeah. If you could blow it up so we can see it too. I mean,
there we go. Okay. Yeah, this was the cameraman's filming at Claim 3 that night, and he pans to the right with his red light. You'll see it come into view to the right over here.
Here it is.
Oh wow.
See the twinkling?
Oh wow. Wow. Oh wow.
But what is it? That's the question.
Yeah. That is the question.
It's easy to say it's a Bigfoot, but I mean, honestly, you don't know, and it's like
it's like transparent, and you can see it, but it's almost like it's just got a transparency enough that you can't.
Damn. Oh wow, that's incredible. Yeah, there's just the transparency of it. That's the crazy part. Did
I come off there?
Oh no, it's my bad.
Okay, that's right. All right.
This is my ad. So that's fascinating.
We keep going back there, hoping to see it again sometime. But I told Jack after he captured that and I seen that, I'm like, you hit the lottery. Talk about just
that's crazy.
Talk about the right time and the right place to have some kind of a event like that. And I'm like, I'm like, probably never have that happen again.
That was crazy. That was so good.
What you just said is profound when you really think about it. It will probably never happen again. Yep. And they give us these little moments, or I don't know if they even give it, or we just capture these little moments, and those little moments drive us for days, months, years, decades to figure out what that moment was. And why is that one moment or few minutes or whatever it is that experience so strong on us? It's so more powerful than, I'll be honest with you, my encounters with Bigfoot in 2017 are more profound and powerful than anything I've done. To making love to a beautiful woman, to school, to the things that I've done in life. And I spent a lot of time in these things, right? And whether it's being on the railroad and becoming a train conductor or et cetera, it's like, and then they have this one moment that changes everything in your life. It's really something shocking when I think about it. To me, it's profound.
Yeah, and I think, like we mentioned before, I think a lot of the reason why these interactions occur are individually based, really. That's the way I always felt. And I think that has a lot, it goes pretty deep with like what the universe consciousness shares with you, what thoughts come to you, the things you get, why you're thinking about doing these things. When you go into the woods, like you mentioned, making offerings, that connection, certain people I think have a certain connection and a certain aura or vibration frequency that is at a level that kind of draws things to you. And that usually, if it works out, you'll find that you get interactions that people don't usually get.
Do you know, that sounds very close to another school of thought, which is biocentricism, whereby it's believed that with consciousness, we assimilate. So basically, all the atoms are kind of like randomly roaming around, a bit like a video game. So you're kind of in a video game and you're in a room and you walk down the corridor into another room. That corridor exists only when you step into it and you're aware and you view it. And then you walk into a room, and before you walk into that room and open up that door, all it is just a random mirage of particles and atoms roaming around until they're witnessed. And it's us that puts structure to those atoms. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
The biocentric thought, that's going down the same lines, I think. Conscious thought. Do we create all of this? Do we create these beings? Do they exist because of us?
It could be. It's a great question. This is a very good question.
Right.
So
About
the
consciousness is what rules, right? The consciousness is what creates what we are in our avatar bodies, you could say, and not our avatar bodies creating the consciousness. We're just getting that information, and everything that makes us what we are just our continual collection of consciousness that not necessarily might be your own. It might be what's given to you or what's being shared.
Okay, let's take away consciousness, because we don't get consciousness, right? I'm not putting you. What I'm saying is electrical impulses.
Yeah.
But everything we know that we do in the sea, I know that I'm okay. I've got a vape. Yeah, I know that I'm holding a vape only because my fingers are holding the vape, and I can feel the impression of that vape on my fingers and sending a signal back to my brain, and that's interpreting it as, and my eyes are viewing it and saying, oh yes, putting it together as a vape. But consciousness itself is as ethereal as the beings that we see.
Right.
All we get is input. Everywhere we go, we're in the middle of a forest, we just get input, even from you take it from media, from YouTube, from everywhere. It's just input. And we're just getting more and more of this crap going into our heads. But ordinarily, everything we see is just what we know it to be from electrical impulses. Now, perhaps they are manipulating those. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
True. That's one of the things where, the way I see it is like, I just feel that some part of me resonates with finding out what's there and interacting with it. And whether or not whatever it is that's presenting itself to me, what I see and what I hear, what it necessarily means, I kind of just take it, I kind of am just curious about it. And I'd like to see what comes to me, what it is. And I can't really label any of it, really. All I can do is and most of what I do is just more about what I hear. It's about messages that I get. That's what my biggest thing is trying to communicate and see, because I get some things that are communicated through my device and EVPs, and it's just been making, really drawing me into, what am I hearing? Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Is it the dead? Is it residual voices of people who have passed away that are still talking, or is it bigger than that? Is it some kind of communication from on a multi-dimensional level that is coming through, that's just talking to me from somewhere, and it's not necessarily people who have passed on, or maybe it's all the same place. It's all connected, but I don't dig too deep. I'm more just like to just experience what happens and then kind of take it in and see if I can figure out a connection to it.
Yeah. Does it ever? Do you find that? Does it ever? I mean, I know some people. I've heard that some people, like especially with Bigfoot, they say that they're actually in communication with a Bigfoot. You know, they're actually talking. You know, maybe mind speak, but do you have that?
No, I don't. No, I mean, like, if there is something that communicates with me, which I could very well say that sometimes there's like that sense that maybe is there. I might not necessarily know how to label it, because sometimes I will get like epiphanies of something about where I'm at the time. And I might get it at what you call like a gut feeling or an instinct. Like, I think there's something I need to be asking, and something will just click, like something I could, and that might happen. I don't know if that's necessarily something that's trying to bring that to me, or if it's just something else, but I mean, as far as like actually being really in touch with whether it's another entity or others that say they can communicate with spirits or even mind speak, I don't think I have something on that level.
See, I don't believe a lot of that. I don't believe a lot of that. Because if they did, if people did have, and there was mind speak between them, some of the trash that they talk about, like kind of, I'm not being mean, I'm really not being mean, but I doubt it, because I'm pretty sure if I could communicate, their mind spoke to me, I'm sure it would be a lot more profound than like some of the stuff I've heard, like, oh, you're our friend, and do you want to come meet my brother? Something like that. That's what I've heard in the past.
Or you've been chosen to be like some kind of savior to save the world, or you got a mission, a special mission.
Yeah. No, I am already. I'm already that. I'm already that.
I know. It mimics like a lot of things that happen in near-death experiences and spiritual experiences. Like people end up becoming like, have prophetic visions. It seems to be the same thing over and over again. The end of the world, and this has been going on for generations and for hundreds of years, by the way. And the world's still here, so. And it's always like, and there's such a strong, profound connection to all this stuff. Messages, near-death people have near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and then the prophetic, or people have religious visions, and they see something, or they see some kind of light being or something they call it an angel, and they end up starting a religion like I got sucked up in as a kid, called the Mormons, and on and on it goes. You know what I mean? It's they're all interconnected. At least that's how I see it from my personal experience. There's something going on there. There's a force. There's entities. There's entities plural, or there's an entity that is kind of playing with us a little bit, or entertaining us. I don't necessarily mean it in a bad way. It just is. Good. So you know what I'm saying? There's some whatever's going on.
Well, there's definitely and I've found this out because there's a guy named Stephen Huff, and I've talked about him before, from Huff Paranormal, who if you watch him, he's been doing his own spiritual communication for a long time, and he seems to have and claims to have a connection that's more, you could say, on like an empath level or that. And one of the things he says, and it seems to hold true for electronic voice phenomenon, is if you give a method of communication, you could say spirits, or I kind of think a little open-minded, it might not just be spirits, but if you give a method of communication, then you will be talked to, you will get communication. And that seems to be true because an audio recorder will do that. My necrometer will do that. And there are messages that can't just be randomized. So something is communicating, and it's doing it in a method that is, it seems like, impossible. So that's where I start to dig a little bit into like, how is this possible? And then looking into multi-dimensional kind of aspect makes more sense as to how something could interact, tell me what it wants to say, or just say something maybe it's not even trying to say, but it's doing it. So I definitely feel like there is some communication. It might not be telepathic, but there are there are voices, or there are, you could say, spirits, or some kind of energy or something else, consciousness even, that is able to talk to you. And for me, I hear it by method of some kind of a device.
Interesting.
Maybe someone can hear it. It's not me.
Gentlemen, I don't want to do this, but I have to end this as I have to take my neighbor upstairs, Mike, whose name is Mike as well. There's a lot of Mikes in the world, and
Be the number one name.
yeah, I got to take him there. It was about half an hour away, and I got my son. So anyway, so we're gonna wind this down. So let's go. MT Paranormal Life, Mike. Make sure to subscribe and just don't forget.
I'm already there. Yeah, subscribe, Phil. I got you.
Yeah, I'm gonna check you out, MT, and subscribe definitely. Yeah, and so I'm gonna flick a few messages over. That's all, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And so you can find him on Facebook as well. Are you on Facebook, Phil?
Yeah,
Phil,
yeah. Facebook, Facebook, just my name. It's Phil Cotswold, Kotval. Phil Cotswold, Kotval.
I'll try to find you later, and
I'll look you up.
Mike, if you find him, send me a link if you don't mind. And don't forget, Mike, next Saturday, if you're free at 8:00, I'd like to have you join. I think it'd be a fantastic discussion with what's his name, W.T. Watson. He's got this book that he just read, and he is a Bigfoot researcher, by the way. But he it's called Forest Poltergeist, and he connects the dots. He sees the parallel experience that Bigfooters are having, along with those who do paranormal research. And I think Mike would be an excellent addition to the show because you're actually doing it. So out in the field. So, and also I hate to do this, but if anybody's interested, because it costs me a ton of money, and I did say I was going to do this. I feel cheap. I feel terrible, but if you're interested in donating anything to help pay for this, you don't have to. But if you are, you can go to Michael Adams O.R.D. 3 in PayPal or in cash. App is once again Michael Adams O.R.D. 3. $5-10, whatever it is, to help pay, because it costs a lot of money to do this, believe it or not. So, and I like to spend some of that money on my son. So if you could help out. I hate to sound like a beggar, and I clearly, Phil, we're gonna have a part 2.
Yep. Yeah.
We have hardly got through your images, and talk. There's plenty to talk here. You clearly are an intellectual man. You're a man who's been thinking about stuff, and I appreciate your perspective.
I've got a lot of stuff on ghosts as well, ghosts and phantoms as well. Loads of stuff on that.
I'm not surprised.
I sent you a request on Messenger, Phil, so I found you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
So with that, folks, everybody that hears this, thank you for joining. Don't forget to like and to subscribe, and not only to their channels but to my channel. And gentlemen, we're going to be talking soon. That's for sure.
All right.
You guys have a great week.
Cool.
And yeah. I got to end the show. I wanted to play some music, but I can't even do that. So, great day.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Great 2 hours.
Great talk.